Hello everyone. Okay, today I'm doing my talk, but it's going to be different. So today it's actually going to be not me, it's going to be Mother Mary. So it's going to be partially, and I say partially, but partially channeled Mother Mary. So why am I doing that? Just because this morning I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. So I just asked Mother Mary, can you please give me a topic? So she said, what did she say? Oh, she said the fourth book of group of books. She said the fifth book from the left. And then she said page 194 and page 195. And this book is called The Lovely Bones. I know it's annoying on my camera because you get a mirrored. One day I'm going to learn how to not mirror my camera. But The Lovely Bones anyway. And it's just talking about stressing his awareness of overwhelming grief. The salmon father had his displayed bloody blah, infected the poor girl's sister, and then other things. But really it's talking about loss. And I don't know if you know about this particular book, but this book is about the afterlife, and what happens after you die. And there's other things in it as well, some negative things, as you probably well know. Actually, the person's name is called Salmon, which is really weird. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to be... Now, when I was in the bath this morning, I asked Mother Mary a few questions around this. And so apparently the reason that I haven't channeled Mother Mary successfully before, and she said because I have to be very, very calm, and if I'm not calm, i.e. a little bit sort of nervous or anxious, then other energies can creep in, and those were her precise words. Now she also kind of said sometimes I have a challenge if I don't have the right grammar or vocabulary, but she wasn't criticizing my English as such, and she wasn't even criticizing the volume of my vocabulary. She was just saying that when you fall out of practice, the expectations about how to use grammar and my understanding, depending on how much reading I'm doing, gets out of sorts. And channeling is kind of hard because the words are flowing through your brain like independently, but you've got kind of a general feeling of what's coming through as it's coming through. And because you've got a general feeling, sometimes you can preempt and you can try and finish their sentences for them, and then they stop and you're still going, and that's not what they intended. So generally Mother Mary speaks in quite a series of short sentences. And the only reason she does that is just because of practice effects, how much I'm practiced at the time. So, yeah, so it gets easier with practice. Anyway, so what she wants me to do is just to sit back and close my eyes and then bring through her energy, and then I'll relay what she said. So I'm not going to be channeling like trance channeling. Trance channeling is when you lose your consciousness and another spirit steps into your body and talks through you. So I'm going to be having a parallel conversation with her, and I'm going to be relaying back to you basically what she's saying. I'm going to get more of a glass of water, so I'll be just right back. So I'll just be right with you, just to hold a second, and I'll just blow my nose. Now, the reason that I said I'd be 15 minutes, but it's been more like an hour, is because I had to tidy the whole entire house, because in order for me to feel calm, I like to live in an environment of tranquility and Zen-like kind of cleanliness and order. Like even the chair over there, because it's angled, I want to move the chair back to straight. So I like straightening things Straightening my chair. Yeah. So everything represents harmony and order, and it does affect you. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm pleased that there are not too many people watching, because when I have too many people watching, sometimes I can feel under pressure. So the topic that Mother Mary wants to talk to me and to you about is grief and dying and the afterlife. And I suppose I could just ask her a series of questions, or she could dictate the agenda. I've got to straighten something else over there, because I've got a thing on my sewing machine that's so twisted when I look at it, it looks out of kilter, so I have to straighten that as well. It's weird how order and harmony can affect your state of mind. Yeah. So anyway, first I'm just going to spend about 15 seconds just centering myself. So just give me a sec. I've had a little bit of a sore neck, so that's also affecting me as well. So I'll just rub my neck. Okay. Well, she comes through really, really strongly, actually. She's trying to talk to me already, so let's just see what she says. Just hold a sec. Okay, so the first thing she says, yes, Edward, that's correct. You understand very well. So she's flowing in my brain quite clearly. So let's see what she wants to talk about. Okay, so it's coming through really, really, really clearly. So she says, yes, Edward, we want people to know that there have been a lot of deaths lately, a lot of deaths due to COVID and a lot of deaths due to the Ukraine war. And I suppose there are other things. So they have a lot of souls that are crossing over right now, which is really interesting, because I suppose there's a really good movie called Astral City where it shows what happens when souls cross over. And Mother Mary doesn't really like that Portuguese movie called Astral City entirely. She does like the general feeling of the movie, but there's some dark side where souls are suffering too much. And that darkness that's portrayed in the movie is not entirely accurate. It's a lot more fluffy and happier when you cross over. It's probably a little bit like the movie Defending Your Life by Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep, but that's by the by. Okay, so back on topic. I've got a busy brain, so I go off on tangents, as you know. And it's good to laugh because it raises my vibration. Okay, so she said a lot of souls have been crossing over right now. And what that means, and I can feel her energy coming in on that. So basically there are a lot of souls that have crossed over all at the same time within a short period of time, and they're really anxious. Well, anxious is never the word, but they feel strongly that they want to let their loved ones know here on planet Earth that they're basically okay, because there's a huge... I kind of get a feeling what Mother Mary wants to say is there's a huge volume of people on planet Earth, particularly because of COVID and also because of Ukraine war, and they're just worried. Like, I wonder if Bert, Martha, Fred and Ernie are okay on the other side. So I think that's what she's saying. So let's see what she says next. When she starts, Mother Mary says, yes, Edward, that's how she starts. And she always says, this is Mother Mary speaking, because, yeah, okay, I'll just get into it. So she says, yes, Edward, this is Mary. It is true that there's a lot of souls that have crossed over at the moment. And she says, that it's a delightful place to be when they cross over because they get reunited with their loved ones, and so they're very, very happy. But they're also concerned that people on Earth that have lost people due to COVID or due to Ukraine war or other issues, when I see them clairvoyantly in my brain, they actually, a lot of them seem to be elderly. Because when I channeled Mary about COVID about 2 or 3 years ago, one of the lessons for planet Earth around COVID was actually the quality of life and losing loved ones who are elderly. So some of the ones that I can clearly see, they actually look like I can see people in England in my head right now, and a lot of elderly retirement homes, maybe where they've lost a lot of people. And it's not just fixating just on England. I'm seeing a clairvoyant scene of a retirement home, and homes in general that look English, or they could even be German or wherever they are in Europe, but that's where they're clairvoyantly showing me images of. Now, let me just see what else Mary wants to say. Just hold a second. Okay, so she just confirmed, and Mary said to me, "Yes, Edward, we showed you clairvoyant images of people's homes or retirement homes." Well, actually, the homes they're showing me are actually individual homes, and these homes at the moment that she's showing me appear to be like England, and they're showing me whole rooms where they're all crying, like all of the family members have lost an elderly person due to COVID, and they're all crying, and they're just really, really distressed. Now, Mother Mary, it's not that Mother Mary doesn't have the ability. I don't have the ability because of trusting this process, whether or not I can pinpoint, the name and the location, who that family is. But it's a general. Well, there's a specific family, but this is actually. See, I'm even struggling to find the words. It's the nature of my English. One day I'm actually going to improve my English tremendously, and Mother Mary's told me to do that because in order to channel her, it would be wiser for me to have really amazing high-level grammatical and vocabulary English, if you get what I mean. But she's saying it's symptomatic, that's the word I was struggling to find, it's symptomatic of lots of families across England, Europe or America or wherever they are, and they're also showing me India as well. Mother Mary's showing me right now that there's been lots and lots and lots of deaths in India because of COVID. She's injecting that into my head right now. So there's even Indian families that are experiencing huge amounts of grief, huge amounts of loss, and they're even showing me that the way the Prime Minister of India dealt with the COVID situation in the early stages, I don't know about now, but it was just a bit of a relaxed, laissez-faire approach to COVID. And so right now she's showing me there are huge amounts of volumes of people in India that are grieving losses of large groups of people and big funerals. Okay. She's coming through really strong now. Okay, she just stopped. This is the problem because I have this anticipation, and this is a really huge problem when you're channeling because your spiritual ego really wants to take over and really wants to make grandiose plans about the future, and that's a problem with the New Age movement. And I always stop myself, and Mother Mary won't let me do that. I was going to try and turn her words into something grandiose about the evolution of the planet, but she stopped me because that was my spiritual ego wanting to make something big, and so she stopped me. But she just said, the only thing she said before she stopped was that all these deaths due to COVID had to happen for a reason. It was part of God's karmic plan, if you like, to have a lot of people transition during this time. But then when my spiritual ego wanted to make it into something, she brought this wall down and she stopped me. Maybe she wants to give me time to center myself again and go calm, and then maybe she'll explain why so many souls are transitioning right now. So just hold a sec. I'll have a glass of water and see if she explains why. I've got messages coming through, so I've just got to make sure I bypass those. Okay. My neck is a little bit sore, so it's a bit hard to hold my head in this position. I also wear this lilac colour because it helps bring me into my spiritual centre better. Or help. Yeah, okay, won't. Okay. So now that she's not talking, but she showed me just an image beforehand, before she explains, and she's just showing me a huge amount of joy. So this is the strange thing about the human perspective of death. We think it's all doom, gloom, and destruction, but it's not. When they transition, huge volumes of people are blissfully happy. It's really delightful on the other side. And apart from just being a delightful life, I mean, there's really good movies that I can direct you to, but they show me families are just really overjoyed about being reconnected. I mean, the love and the joy about being reconnected on the other side is just blissfully happy. And huge groups, not just like two or three like mum and dad and the sister. Like, it's a whole group. I can see like hundreds, or not hundreds, but in a family group it might be the soul group of 20 or 50 or 100, and they're all smiling and clapping and congratulating, so it's really beautiful. So let me just see what she's going to say about this, because it's I'm finding it hard to understand what the reason might be. Okay, I just want to make sure I get this really correct, because now she's actually showing me the reason. She's showing me it clairvoyantly, and then she's going to speak. Okay, I'm having problems with my grammar. Just that's what it's like when I bring Mother Mary through. I can't find her grammar because she's Syrian and she translates into her English, which is like Old English, and I can't find the grammar. But what she showed me is an image of China with those labs, where those food markets, sorry, the food markets where that mutated or that problem happened, and the practices in general. No, she didn't want to get into judgments about whether or not it happened in a food market or whether or not it was a military lab in Wuhan. She didn't want to get into that judgment. But then when she started speaking, she said that, by the way, I'll say hello to Mark, Terry, Julie, Diane, Wendy before I continue. So when she showed me that, and then she used words to back it up, she basically said the ideas in China, but she didn't want to judge China in general, because she said this also happens all across the world, but the ideas about how animals are treated en masse as commodities had to come to an end. That's what she was saying. And then she repeated it, and she said, and these ideas of animal treatment, the funny thing is that I can see her words, or I can hear her words, but at the same time I get not holographic, but multi-layered images and feelings from them, their emotions and their intentions about how they feel about human consciousness and the way we treat animals. But it wasn't just about the way humans treat animals, it was the sadness that the human conscious personality is also being sadly affected by the way they treat. Because this is the funny thing. When you abuse someone or something or some animal, you affect that animal or that person, and there's a victim involved. But the perpetrator, you could say that the perpetrator is more of a victim because it's symptomatic of what's happening inside their consciousness. And so if you've got a perpetrator and a victim, the victim, sure, does suffer, and they can go to therapy or they can get a doctor or something and they can get healed. But actually, there's more danger or psychosis or mental illness or pain or grief in the perpetrator, because they have to reach that stage before they can do that damage as a perpetrator. And she's showing me that what the Chinese in Wuhu were doing towards animals was so destructive to the perpetrators and to the general consciousness of the population at that time, that in order for in China and also the rest of the world, by the way, no judgments, judgment aside, but for the rest of the world, all of that really, really had to change because planet Earth would get stuck. Well, she never judged that it would get stuck. It's always a given that planet Earth's consciousness is rising all the time, but it was a sticking point, and it really had to be blasted through. And for whatever reason, COVID was part of that plan. And that wasn't the only reason for COVID. The COVID reason was actually multi-layered on many, many levels. Because I said there's lots of souls that are transitioned. So sometimes wars do that. Wars and famine and disease and whatever give souls time to transition en masse. Lots of them. I mean, lots of them. And sometimes that can be just because that stuckness of that generation or those groups, they need to move, and they need to move faster. And when they reincarnate, the whole generation that comes through will bring a whole new flood of new energy. Okay, I know I'm talking too much, but I have to kind of explain the ramifications and the nuances. So. And when I talk too much, then I get out of my vibration. It's hard for me to come back in again. So give me a minute and I'll go back in. Hold a sec. I really enjoy doing this, by the way, but I have to. It's requires a huge amount of personal discipline to do this as well. And a neck massage. Okay. She comes through really quickly, and the first word she says is "with great sadness," and so I just have to figure out what she means by that. So, what do you mean, please, Mary? She said, "Yes, Edward, you explained it very well when I gave my reiteration. And now she's going to talk about the great sadness. Okay, please show me." And I'm not crying right now, but it's just getting really, really emotional. So just hold a sec. She said, "Yes, Edward. It is a very emotional topic." That's what the words she didn't use. I forgot what she said. But it is with great sadness to see humanity suffering like this in this way. I don't mean COVID, but I mean the earlier suffering about how the human consciousness is affected, the way that they abuse animals, and ultimately, and the other ways. Okay. So now it's getting from Afterlife to COVID. So let's see what's going on. Okay, she's paused at the moment, and the reason she's paused is because I've got multiple tangential subjects coming off that are making it really complicated. So let me just see what she wants to talk about. I need to center myself again. She said, "Yes, Edward, coming back to the original topic, she wants you to know that lots of people on the other side that passed from COVID are blissfully happy, and they want to let people know on Earth that are grieving that they're very, very happy and they're content to be with their loved ones." Okay, come back again, please. Now, I saw the colour orange and people wearing happy colours, and I thought they wanted people who were grieving to wear happy colours so they could transition. And then I thought that was going to become channeled, but then Mother Mary stopped and she didn't build on that theme. So sometimes this can be my imagination or imagery. So I have to stop and just check in with that again. So just hold a sec. The problem is when you're channeling, sometimes you expect it's going to build into something super complicated, and sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes the messages are quite simple, and they don't need to be complicated, or they don't need to be built upon. So let's see what else she wants to talk to me about. Okay, so it looks like she's stopped. And I'll find out why and see if she wants to talk more, and I'll just see what's going on. Just a minute. She said, "Yes, Edward, we love you very much. We're just giving you time to become calm again." So that's what she's doing. So and she also is aware of the fact that I want to go to the toilet as well, which is a problem. Um, okay, shall we do this or not? She's suggesting, because I've been drinking water and I want to go to the toilet, that actually we should draw that to a close. And sometimes when there's too much high expectation to perform as a channeler, you can build it into something it's not, and that would be called spiritual ego. And I'm not going to let myself do that. And this is the first time I've ever done that, so I'd rather just keep the first channeling just really simple and not get into spiritual ego. I mean, I don't have a problem with spiritual ego because I've been training myself for 25 years, and I'm very, very, very disciplined about the way I work with and use or bring through Mother Mary. So I don't have a problem with it. Sometimes it can be creative imagination, and I stop that in its tracks. And she's very, very clear. Her voice is so clear through my head that if I tried to make it into something, we used to have these little games. I used to go walking on a beach late at night. I used to do it every day for years and years, like 15, 20 years. Sorry, there's a little bubbling in my ear that's coming through. And so we used to play this game, and I used to say, well, Mother Mary, I can feel your words coming through really, really clearly. Shall we play this game? And you stop for 5 minutes or, 3 minutes, and I will pretend to use your words, and I will go, hello, Edward, this is Mother Mary speaking, and I'm just, and my voice would just go, and it would stop. So I couldn't do it. So when I try to fake Mother Mary channeling through me, I can't do it. And I've also had moments where Mother Mary will actually not come through at all, and it's always when I'm walking outside in the dark and there's a ghost around. Mother Mary refuses to come through. She won't compete with ghost spirits or other entities. She will just bring down a brick wall and there'll just be nothing. And I was scared once when that happened, because it was just blank. It's like, now I know what it's like to be a regular human and not have angels talking in your head. It's really weird when you've just got blank emptiness. It's like, I'm not going to say it's isolating or lonely, because I had that as a child, but not having Mary there is just really odd. It's like, wow, it's empty space in there. There's nobody, like nothing. Where are you? Where are you? But yeah. Anyway. So, well, that was a success because Mother Mary came through really, really strongly. And she showed me really, really clear imagery, and she backed it up with really good, solid dialogue. The only problem I've got is raising my... Well, I don't have a problem raising my vibration. When I talk, it's the act of talking that gets you into... I wouldn't call it agitation, and I wouldn't even call it nervous. It hypes your energy. And you need an opposite energy to channel. To channel, you need to be really centered and calm. So you've got to go in and out of both states. You've got to be centered and calm, and you've got to be animated and be on public and talk. So you've got to vacillate, and your energy goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down all the time. So that's funny. To vacillate two different states is quite hard. And I've got to have a tidy house. That's why it took me longer to be available. So I better live in a tidy house from here on. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to experiment, and I'd like to do this 3 days a week, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday mornings, New Zealand time. And I can't do it precisely. I used to do my talks at 8:45, like clockwork, 8:45, 8:45. But I can't do that now because this morning when I had to tidy my house, and then the children next door, they've got these little scooters, and when they go over the wooden bridge, it goes, it makes juddery noises, and I had to wait until they got dressed up and they took their scooters and they went down the road to play. And then my South African neighbours that are both builders, they've got about 5 or 6 huge trucks, and I'm not joking, they do. They've got about 7 vehicles in their driveway all at any time. And they're huge trucks, and they load them up and they bring people, and on a Sunday morning it's really, really active. So I had to wait until they got about their day and their loud stereo and everything, and 2 trucks drove away, and now it's like really, really peaceful. It's just beautiful. There's just birds outside. They're really pretty. This morning when I woke up about 7:30 and I went outside, there were like 7 blackbirds and about 5 thrushes, and it was just beautiful. There's a thrush up there singing now, and it's just like really pretty. Okay, I've said enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these type of Mother Mary channelings regularly, 3 days a week, from here on various topics, and I'll let her choose the topic. So this morning, the book Lovely Bones was the way that they wanted to start, and they wanted to talk about, well, they really wanted to reassure people about how many people are transitioning to the other side right now in the afterlife, and they also wanted to talk about that as it relates to COVID. I thought they might bring in the Ukraine war, but they didn't. They didn't. That's just what they did. So, love you all. Hope that helps someone. I don't want to make a critique of all channeling that you've met and other people that channel out there, because there are some things that I disagree with, and I don't want to get into a big debate as to, who's right and who's wrong around channeling, although I could, and I have done from time to time, but I'll just let this be what it is, and you can judge this or me or Mother Mary for whatever you relate to or feel. So this is me channeling Mother Mary. Love you all, and I hope it helps someone. And if you want to understand the process of telepathy and channeling, because I teach this, of course, I've been doing it for 25 years. This is the first time I've actually done this. Well, I've tried it a little bit in the past, and the reason it failed, as I just explained, because when I was in the bath, Mother Mary came through and said that if you're not perfectly calm, other energies can creep in. So they're really, really emphatic about that. They won't come through if I'm not completely centered and calm and confident. So is what it is. Love you all. Bye for now.